Hello.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Martine.
Hey,
I'm
my
Krista.
boss.
I'm Jaylani.
And I'm Loretta.
Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you.
Krista,
See over here.
Krista's the one that you've been speaking with in communication for this.
Cool.
Yeah, so how are you doing today?
Good, good.
How was
Class
the-
earlier.
How was the trip?
Didn't take too long, wasn't any traffic. That's good. It's a little warmer than it usually has been.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's really cold,
Cold.
today.
I think
Yeah.
yesterday was a lot more
Yeah,
cold than today.
exactly.
I was freezing.
Did you want water?
No, I'm alright, thank you.
So I'm gonna be your first interviewer. I'm gonna ask you questions, and yeah, we're just gonna ask you questions. We're each gonna take turns asking you a different question. We'll explain the process if you have any questions, and during the interview, I'll just let us know.
Cool, that's good.
So the first one is, what made you choose Bloomsburg University?
Probably the proximity to my house. So it was more than 2 hours drive, which was the distance I had to be from my house. I didn't want to be too close. That wasn't really my thing, so I just kind of honestly did like hour and a half radius of my house and started looking at schools around there.
Where are you from?
Philadelphia,
Oh, cool.
like Cheltenham specifically. But yeah, I just really liked it. I knew a couple kids that played ice hockey here, so it kind of fit. I went to a couple of the games and came to the campus, went to a party, and was like, all right.
That's good, that's good. Did it turn out to be a good choice?
Yeah, I think so. I liked it so much that I'm here for an extra semester, so
Yeah.
I like it. I'm
It
gonna be sad to
happens.
go.
It happens to a lot of people. What are some of your non-academic activities?
I'm on the ice hockey team here, and then I take part in, it's like a senior citizens, I can't remember the name. But we just go to like a senior citizens home. I got started in it for my granddad, and we'll just like make food together with like the old citizen or senior citizens. But I only tend to do that when I'm home. I don't really know any places around Bloomsburg to do that, but mostly hockey and that.
That's awesome. What's your favorite class and why?
That I'm taking now or
Overall?
overall?
Yeah.
Probably public speaking. I like that. I like seeing other people kind of crap their pants, and I was kind of cool with it. I was never worried about it. So that was fun.
That's awesome. And what's your least favorite class and why?
Probably English 101 because I don't know how to spell.
That's okay. So I see from your resume that you were majoring in business marketing and finance. What made you choose this major?
Me and my buddy chose marketing when I was a sophomore. I was originally an environmental science major, and then I realized that I didn't know anyone to get a job in that field or any connections in any way to kind of like further that career. So, and then I didn't really have any connections in Bloomsburg. Like none of the teachers really like struck a chord with me. Like I didn't really get a friendship with any of them. So like I was just taking a business class and liked the professor, and then was like, yeah, I'll do marketing. And then one of my finance professors were like, oh, it's 6 more classes if you do the double major. So I was like, oh, all right. I didn't mind staying too much longer, so stuck around.
So you are happy with your decision on that?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
And among the courses you've taken so far, which one do you think have best prepared you for this type of job?
Probably market research, which I'm in now, which is like a lot of just gathering like data. Or I think business comm back in the day was a really good one because that makes you do all your ins and outs of your LinkedIn, and it's kind of more of a broad strokes class, which I liked.
Yeah, I really like that class as well. And what are your long-term career goals?
I would like to I don't know, in 5 years, I would definitely want to be able to own wherever I'm living.
Okay.
It's about all I have. So career plays a part in that.
Yeah.
You mean like own your home?
Yeah, just
Okay.
own, yeah.
So-
Not be able to rent. Been renting since I was 16.
So like have a good enough job where you could afford that.
Exactly.
And we noticed on your resume that you didn't list any extracurricular activities. I know you talked about a little bit in the beginning. So you are involved in one club or organization?
Yep, I'm on the ice hockey team. Well, this year I'm coaching. Played a couple games, but I don't think I'm technically supposed to. Just kind of coaching for the hockey team this semester. For the past four years, I was doing that.
Okay.
What do you mean you're not supposed to?
You can play for a fifth year.
Oh, I understand. You played all 4 years so far.
Yeah, so
Okay.
like I can technically still play, but I think like there's like a couple things that I didn't technically do for like USA hockey. Like it has nothing to do with school or like the team itself. I just like didn't like sign up for some league thing, but it's not really a big deal. I played in a game like 2 months ago, so I've just been coaching ever since.
Okay.
It's fun though. Hockey's fun.
So I see from your resume that you have worked at Raymond James. Can you describe some of your duties and responsibilities there?
Yeah, I did a lot of, it was a lot of consumer relation management type thing. I did a lot of management of the individual, because it was a financial advisor firm, so it was a lot of advisors with their own personal clients. So it was a lot of like friends and family.
Yes.
So I would just be doing the CRM management for that, updating when they called them last, their birthdays, text messages. You should be calling this many people today, like five days. Kind of just setting up a lot of computer-based systems for them to help them out. And then a little bit of trying to help them figure out some stock exchange stuff, but they're not going to take my actual advice on it. They just kind of like to hear it. But it was definitely interesting getting to do the stock stuff.
What did you like best about the job? Was that like something, the stock?
They had every other week you couldn't pick a Fortune 500 stock. So you'd have to pick like kind of like a lesser known stock name and pick which one would do better from Monday to Friday. And I won like once or twice. So like the old guys were all kind of salty at me that I was winning like the $20 pot, because I was like actually paying attention. They would all have work. I would just be like doing all this research for like this $20. So that was fun.
And what did you like least about the job?
Realizing how many old people are going to ask you to fix easy computer problems once you get into the workplace. And that happened in my last summer. I don't think you guys got my updated resume, but last summer I worked at ASI, so it was a lot of more of that. More.
What's
Advanced sports. So you guys heard of like Fuji bikes?
Mm-hmm.
They own Fuji bikes. They like Mongoose is like their #1 competitor. Like they own Specialized, like SE. You know the bike? You probably Marshawn Lynch.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the all blacked out BMX one. They did that for him. Like they do a lot of like really specialized professional bikes. So I was working in the marketing and finance department there the past summer.
and how was that job? How did you like
That job was awesome. That was the coolest job ever. There was a full BMX course in front of the office. So like you know Rob, you guys watch Rob Dyrdek's Fantasy Factory?
No.
So like the front of it is like a skate park, and then there's a huge office in like a bigger warehouse, so it's all enclosed, and it was basically the same setup as that. So there's a huge bike park in front of your office, so you walk through a bunch of professional bikers doing tricks into foam pits, and then walk back to your office. You could bike back into there, and you could rent bikes out for free all day, just bike around when you were like bored. It was
Wow.
a super laid back environment. And it was
that's-
awesome.
Wow, that's awesome.
About about like the previous job at Raymond James, what was the most challenging thing about like working there?
Probably the most challenging thing would be, I'd say the hours at Raymond James. They made me work really weird hours. They would want me to come in when they weren't dealing with their clients. So I would be working from noon to like 8 o'clock. So it was kind of just weird hours. Sometimes they would tell me to come in at 3, and I would work till like 9. And then the next day they would tell me to come in regular hours. So it was kind of inconvenient.
Yeah. How did you deal with this challenge?
Kind of just had to stay flexible, be willing to kind of just deal with day to day, like what they need from you. Kind of just move on from there.
So on your application, you have 2 internships listed, but the other ones, and then you did the SI. That was an internship, or that was a job?
Internship.
Okay.
ASI, yeah. Sorry, I added it right. Like after I sent it to you guys, I started adding all the
Yeah.
sections to it.
So that was kind of a red flag for us. That's what our question is. So, you said your responsibilities were to, just explain your responsibilities again.
At ASI?
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the summer, I worked in the marketing department. So I did a lot of shoot videos. Like we shot some product videos for Vice. We went to stores, shot a couple shots for that. Which, I mean, I don't actually do any of the shooting. I kind of just was like, we should get some of that, and kind of just made sure we didn't miss major things. And then the other part of the marketing would be a lot of like online spec changes. So the bike would change from a tire 16.5 inches to a 16.7 inch, and they would just have to change that little detail online. So they would just give me like an Excel file filled with changes, and I would just go through and change them on like a once a week basis.
Okay.
And then finance, I was doing basically checks pay, like accounts payable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I was blanking on the word.
That's okay. So why was this not listed on your resume then?
I just didn't. I take a while to figure out all the concepts that I put under my
Okay.
title, and it just, by the time I sent it to you, I was in a rush to send it to you guys, and then I didn't get it on there because I like had kind of gibberish for what I was doing at the job. So I figured I would rather have 4 completed sections than 5.
So just a time constraint.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, do you think you are prepared to hold a manager position with your experience then?
I think I could. I think probably the most effective thing would probably be maybe an assistant manager.
Okay.
So I could really understand the dynamic of the industry. It depends what field I would be in. I mean, I think I would kind of have a good leg up on maybe some biking industry since I've seen it firsthand. But maybe in a different field or industry with new people, I would probably need to at least get a footing before I would be a manager. I think I have the skills and the abilities just from all the teams I've been in and things that I've done to manage people, but I think it still takes time to know your exact environment.
As a manager, one of your greatest challenges is going to be keeping all of your employees motivated. What is your attempt at doing so?
Like what would I do as a manager to probably some sort of like incentive program. If I was a sales manager, I'd probably do some sort of direct, like meet your sales quota, you get this, beat your sales quota, you get this, and then try to just do some positive reinforcement. So I know that's what I always remembered in the past, is when like a boss has just been like, "Yo, John, doing a great job. Here's a $20 gift card or whatever."
Yeah.
All the one time that it's happened, but
It really does change it.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you remember the exact moment. Yeah, could just be a rarity thing. But,
So, what is your greatest strength as it relates to the Walmart position?
I think my people skills would be my number one thing. I shop at Walmart and I talk to people all day when I'm there. I'm one of those guys. I'm like, hey, these peppers are looking great. Alright.
Can you give us a time where you exhibited this strength, like during like a job?
Probably I used to work in a mine for like 5 years, and I was like by far the youngest person there. So like to relate to like the older people, I would kind of have to be at least a little bit more matured than like starting at like 15, 16, than like working with like a 45-year-old. I couldn't really act the same. So I think I was able to kind of relate to different people pretty easily, pretty quickly.
And what quality do you most need to improve on in order to be an effective manager?
My organizational scheduling.
And how do you plan to make that improvement?
Every year I buy a new little thing to mark all my calendar. There we go. I'm so bad I don't even know the word. Every year I buy a new calendar and I attempt to write all my stuff down in it, and then about 4 or 5 months in I'll die down. But I gotta try to just stay up on it.
Yeah.
So, can you provide us an example of a time you were assigned to multiple projects at once with similar deadlines, and how did you handle it?
So the different deadlines for different projects.
No.
Like say you had 2 projects, like did they have similar deadlines, and like when you had multiple things to get done, or
Like
say
when
on
you-
the same date, like if you have 2
Oh,
tests
okay.
on the day.
So probably the worst time I've seen that was my junior year. I had playoffs for ice hockey and 2 final papers due on the same Friday, and of course I did no real preparation for these like I should have. So like Thursday night I'm typing 2 papers at once, trying to figure this out, and like also trying to like get a good night's sleep before I drive 8 hours to go play hockey. So in hindsight, I should have been better at organization and done it ahead of time.
Do you think you could have done anything to improve it and make it more smoothly?
Yeah, probably one of my major weaknesses with the organizational scheduling.
Yeah.
If I'm good once I'm on the ball, once I know everything is due, once I know the dates, but I tend to forget things. So
Yeah.
I got to be more on the ball with the calendar.
So we're going to kind of transition into some hypothetical situations that you might face as a manager here at Walmart. Just tell us how you would handle them. You hired Joan about 3 months ago. She's a good worker, but often arrives at work about 10 to 20 minutes late. She's a different excuse each time: car breaks down, babysitter is late, caught in traffic, etc. You've ignored the problem up until now because she's a good worker and you didn't want to upset her. You believe that something must be done, but you now believe something must be done. Do you need me to repeat that, or should I go with the question?
No, so basically she's continuously coming late with different excuses on a regular basis, but a good worker.
So what actions would you take at this point now?
I would probably try to sit her down in a closed meeting, not around anyone. Explain to her how I see her work ethic, how I see what she's doing right, what she's doing wrong, and then probably give her the the honest truth, what she has left until I feel I need to terminate her. You know what I'm saying? If she has 5 days to come in late before I terminate her, or whatever the such and such time frame is. You give her a number, and if she can't meet that number, then I'm sorry, but you can't really help it.
So why do you think that that's going to solve the issue?
Because a lot of times people think if they continuously get away with it, and if they're a good worker, when they're there, that they can a lot of times get away with that if no one says anything. That's why if you reach out, you let her know that you know that she's a good worker, but you see the things that she is doing wrong, and kind of tell her that she needs to correct those things. Most of the time they're able to do it, especially if they're already good workers. They're willing to keep that job. They care about it.
So you said you'd give her a timeline. If she didn't meet the timeline, then you would terminate her?
I would, not a timeline, give her an allotted amount of, if she was always late, an allotted amount of days she's allowed to come in late in either a period or per year.
Okay.
Which if in the next month she can't come in 5 times late, or she was terminated, if she met that 5 times, then she would, because it kind of allows you don't immediately say nothing and fire them, which you obviously don't want to do, but you let them know that you know what's going on.
So if her actions do continue, then what would your result be?
Termination.
Okay, I'm gonna ask the next question. A customer complains to you about the rude behavior of one of your sales associates. She had asked him for a refund on the product but did not have a sales slip. The associate told her, "Look, lady, there's nothing I can do. It's a store policy. If you don't like it, shop somewhere else." What would you say to the customer?
I'm not the associate that said that, right? It was like
No.
my
But
employee.
it was, your associate that said that to
Okay.
the customer. So what would you say to the customer?
I would probably try to inform the customer how the employee clearly did the wrong thing, saying that what we would do to properly correct and train the employee in the future, and maybe ask her what we could do to gain her trust back in the future.
And why would you respond in that manner?
Well, I mean, like, I went to a Zip conference last week, and like they were talking about how customers will leave like any minute, like super easily now, just because Amazon, like, you can go get anything online, go get anything else online. So it's like customer relationships are very important. So that would probably be the main one.
Okay. And what would you say to the sales associate?
I mean, it depends how close I was with the dude, or with the associate. But I would probably start with like, "What are you doing?" Like that, that's not how you're supposed to talk to customers. Probably try to not do it in front of their peers as much as possible. But I mean, if they're yelling at the customer in front of peers, sometimes if you're doing something that's outrageous to the actual business, I mean, like, it might be allowed to be like, "Yo, Sarah, John, Jake, knock that off right now." Like, you act physically, tell them to stop doing that, maybe if you caught them in the act.
Yeah. And why do you think that would be a good way to respond?
I mean, it's not always the greatest way to respond to kind of like embarrass somebody in front of other people, but sometimes if they're doing something that's public and outright, like kind of yelling at a customer in front of the other customers, in front of the other workers, they kind of deserve it, in my opinion.
Okay.
So for the next hypothetical situation, it's Thursday and one of your sales associate, Carl, informs you that he just bought expensive concert tickets for Saturday night and asks for the night off. Employees are expected to give 1 week's notice in such situations. Saturday night is always busy and you can't afford to be short-handed. How would you respond to Carl?
Well, I've had this exact instance happen to me with like a buddy of mine. I would tell Carl that we have a policy. You knew the policy before you bought the tickets. You can try to get somebody to cover for you that's qualified, but if not, no call, no show.
Yeah, it'll be like a write-up or something.
Well, I mean, I always, wherever I've worked, it's no call, no show. Don't show the next day. So, I mean, you got to say something. You can be late, but you can't just not show up and go to a concert.
Why do you think that your response would be a good one?
Because I think that would kind of give a level playing field to all the employees. If there's a policy, you should mostly follow the policy unless there's some type of outrageous natural event or if somebody's giving birth or, some sort of emergency.
Yeah. So another hypothetical question will be, you have noticed that one of your sales associates, John, often disappears when a customer approaches the sales counter, forcing other sales associates to help them. He's been doing this for weeks. You've seen him done this 3 times in just the past week. Prior to the onset of this problem, John had been an excellent worker. How would you respond to this situation?
I would probably try to see if something was wrong with John, because if he was a good worker in the past, maybe there's something in his personal life that might be affecting his work life, or maybe something in his work life is starting to become personal, which can be like a lot of problems, like whatever. Maybe he started to date a coworker and it went bad, but like there could be a lot of different things. He just doesn't like his work environment. But try to sit him down and have like an in-depth talk with him and see what's wrong with him. Because if he was a good employee, he can be a good employee again for sure. And it's kind of like your job as a manager to give him the old pep talk.
Yeah. Why do you think that your response will be a good one?
Because I'm really good at pep talks. Because I think maintaining like your employees, like turnover is never a good thing, and especially turnover of good employees is never a good thing. So being able to just maintain that relationship is a lot easier than hiring 3 new people and then on your 3rd hire you'll get another good employee. You know what I mean? So it's just a process. It's easier to just make him happier.
All right, we're gonna go and transition to some hypothetical questions. So you're gonna like think back to past situations that you faced, and it may take some time for you to like jog memory. So just take your time and think about the questions, and then answer it when you're ready. So tell us about the most important goal that you set for yourself at work or school. How did you attempt to reach the goal? First, tell us what the goal was.
All time? And school or not school?
School or not school, personal.
Well, school, I was super dyslexic when I was a kid. Well, I guess I am still dyslexic, but back in high school I had a real problem with my dyslexia, so like I got extra time on the SATs and all that stuff. So like my whole goal was to do better than my brother on the SATs, which this was back when it was 2,400, I think. So we probably all took it with the same score.
Yeah.
So like he got a 1950, which was like really good, and he was always smart to me. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna beat this kid. So I studied super hard. Never ended up beating him. I got a 1920. But I was super happy because I got like a 1,600 on the practice score. Like they were like, yeah, this kid is not doing good on these. And like I did really well, so I was just so happy when I got the score back. That was probably one of my greater ones.
Okay, so how did you achieve that? Like how did you study? Like what were your practices?
I just took practice tests like randomly. Like I would come home and take like an SAT practice test on like a Wednesday, and then like that Saturday I would go take another one.
So did you study for it, or did you just take the exams and go?
I just took the exams like multiple times. I didn't really study because the studying for it to me was just more questions in a book. So it was like, all right, I might as well just do the whole thing. It takes me 2 hours. I would do like a math section one night, and then I would just do like the English section the next night, and like I did like 2 essays a couple times. Which, I mean, before I took all of them, I was definitely not doing good, and I would go through the SAT and like be like, oh, I know this question. I barely read it, and I would just read it, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I got this.
Mm-hmm.
They're like repeat questions. It's awesome.
So you weren't exactly successful in beating your brother, but you did achieve a great goal in doing well in the SATs.
Exactly. Yeah.
So would you approach it differently this time, or like looking back, do you think you would do something different?
I think looking back, I would get some of his advice because I tried to beat him in spite of him because he was kind of always the smarter older brother that was kind of beating me in that. So I was kind of doing it in a competitive way. And looking back on it, he could have helped me more than anyone because he took the test a year and a half before me, had it fresh in his mind, knew all the tactics, knew to not, you know what I mean? Like I didn't even know, like, don't answer it if you don't know it.
So you never asked him for help?
No. I knew his score and was like, I stole his SAT prep book. I didn't even steal it, he just gave it to me, but because he was done with it. But yeah, he was a smart cookie. I was salty I didn't beat him. Oh well.
So tell us about a time, the most recent time that you demonstrated leadership ability, either at school or at work, and describe the situation.
Well, the most recent example would probably be coaching for the Bloomsburg team. They lost all their games until last weekend, and then because I was like kind of not fully coaching, kind of just showing up to the games and being like a water boy manager type thing, just because I'm friendly with all the kids on the team and go out to drinks with them and everything. And they recently fired their coach and kind of hired. They didn't really hire us, but me and another kid are interim coaches, and we brought the team. So the team was originally kicked out of the league my senior year of high school. The Bloomsburg ice hockey team was kicked out of the ice hockey league. So my freshman, sophomore year, me and my roommate got us allowed back in the league. Like we literally petitioned the league probably 6 or 7 times. And then they finally let us back in. Now I'm blanking on the front of my story.
It's okay. How do you think that you demonstrated leadership?
Yeah. So then they called us back in to be the coach. So we won the past 2 games with me and my buddy being the head coach. So
Good.
that was some leadership.
And do you think that your actions were effective? Well, probably because you said you won.
Yeah. Exactly.
And did this experience teach you anything about how to be an effective leader?
I think it told me like some key issues, like how not to be a leader. Because like the old coach, I knew him pretty well. And it's like, don't use cliches is a big one in my book. Like that kind of irritates me.
So this job will require you to teach new employees how to do their jobs, such as how to work the cash register and how to provide excellent customer service. Have you ever had any experience in training new workers?
Not in customer service. I have trained new workers at Raymond James. I just was teaching the new technical advisor, even though that wasn't my job. I was teaching the new technical advisor how to work around the CRM because he was just similar in age to me. So we kind of were able to talk pretty well together compared to like somebody who's 45 trying to teach him. It was a little bit better.
Can you describe step by step how you trained the individual?
It's a long time ago, but I basically sat him down through the it was, I believe, Microsoft Access was the system they were using. So I just looked up the YouTube Microsoft Access tutorial, told him to watch it, and then we went through all these little points about how to use all the basically the things he would need for the financial advisors,
Mhm.
just some of the formulas and stuff. He knew how to use them mostly. He just needed to figure out where they were in Access compared to Excel.
Was the training a success?
Yeah, he still works there now. So that was 2 summers ago. So he's worked there longer than I did.
Is there anything that you would now do differently in that situation?
Maybe ask if there's any other programs that I should have helped him with besides Access. Maybe more broader.